Hello and welcome to From My Basement in Tulsa. I'm Jason Ferguson and I'm here with my good friend Gabe. What's up, dude?
How you doing, man? It's good to be here.
Good. I'm super glad to have you here, man.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a while,
Yeah,
so it's good to make it happen. I had a little time, so it's good to be
It's
here.
good to catch you in Tulsa.
Yeah, totally.
It seems like every random day you're like, oh, I'm in Peru now.
Peru.
I'm in.
Man.
I just moved to Canada for a week. What's
Yeah.
up? So tell me, introduce yourself. I guess people listening might not know you.
Yeah, I suppose so. I assume not, actually, but my name's Gabriel. I grew up mostly in Oklahoma, but I'm basically just a regular person, just like anybody else, but I'm just an old friend of Jason, and
He's a traveler.
I like to travel.
And that's
I
awesome
like
to
to
me.
move around. It's tough to stay put.
That's cool. I hear, I've been thinking about this question forever. I hear traveling is the best way to open your mind, man. Except for I read it and just added that weird dialogue to my head. But that's just something cool to me. I've only traveled a little bit, but I mean, do you see that? Like maybe you travel somewhere with an idea of how something works and then we're like, wait, their way works too.
Totally. Well, believe it or not, I think that actually anybody can, you don't have to travel to have an open mind. I feel like anybody, if they're interested in just sort of questioning the world or questioning why we're here or just seeing something beautiful or hearing something beautiful or anything, I mean, I think that anybody can, if they're interested, you can read a book and have an open mind and you can get somebody else's perspective. But I certainly do think that if you allow yourself, if it's possible, because it's not possible for a lot of people, which I understand, but if it's possible, it's really beneficial to travel anywhere. I mean, even just to another state or town or anything and just kind of see what's happening out there. And if you have the chance, I think it's really awesome too to speak to people from other places and actually, instead of, I don't know, I'm kind of getting into this real quick here.
That's
but
fine. We just
but
dive right in.
anyway, sometimes I feel like people, they have sort of a preconceived notion of certain people or places, but I don't feel like it's always accurate. So for me, it's really awesome to actually go and learn on my own and find what I believe is true about the world instead of just believing what somebody else teaches me.
That's cool. That's very cool. What sent you on your first big road trip? I remember talking to you right after high school area. You're like, I'm getting my pilot's license, or I don't remember what the plan was.
I never did that, but it's still on my list.
It's a good thing to have on your list, I think.
Yeah.
What got you into just hitting the road?
Well, it's really crazy. I kind of think it's in my blood a little bit, but I know my grandparents on my dad's side, they moved around a bit. My dad was born in Oregon and lived in a bunch of different states, Wisconsin and Iowa and all over the place. And basically I was born in North Carolina, and then my parents at the time were sort of like Christian hippies, which it sounds kind of contradictory. A lot of people are like, what's that mean? But basically in the late 60s and early 70s, there was something called the Jesus movement. And a lot of people just kind of laugh at that. It's like, oh, that sounds like a joke. But I mean, it was actually a thing. You know, it started sort of on the West Coast of the U.S., and of course in California and Oregon and Washington. Just at that time anyway, there was the whole hippie movement anyway. But then I don't know exactly what started happening, but I suppose that people started, I don't know, there was sort of this whole changing of people's beliefs to where they became Christians, but they still, I don't know, they kind of lived in a way that was really cool to where they were still open-minded, you know?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
a lot of people don't really see that or understand that part of somebody's belief, really, because you don't really see it very often. But so basically my parents were, I mean, at least it's the way I visualize it.
Yeah.
I could be like just totally romanticizing the whole thing, but I remember like so we lived I was born in North Carolina in a small town, a little trailer, and we didn't have any money or anything. And then my parents moved to Washington State, so we went from the East Coast to the West Coast. I was like a year old or something. So already at that point, moved across the country, less than a year old. And my first memories that I have were up in Washington. We lived up northwest of Seattle on this little island. It's a fairly large island, but it's still a legitimate island called Whidbey Island. And some of my first memories were there, and I don't know, just remember it being really awesome.
Yeah.
And eventually after that, my dad got a job in Oklahoma, so we ended up here. And it's awesome. I mean, this is where I've spent most of my life, but it's strange growing up. I always still had these feelings of I don't know. It's really weird, but I had these feelings of wanting to be kind of free spirited, or just like just kind of like footloose. Like I can go where I want, and everything will work out fine, and just make a way and everything. And so anyway, I'm not really answering your question. It's quite kind of a long story, man. I'm
That's
sorry.
That's fine. No, dude, we got time.
This is like, this podcast's almost over. It's been like 2 hours. But no. Anyway, I graduated high school, and I actually started touring with some bands from here in Tulsa instantly after I was selling T-shirts and stuff. And anyway, I started mostly traveling from that, but at a certain point, there weren't any tours going on, and I had a regular job at Fine Airport Parking.
That's fancy.
Yeah, it was actually a great job, and I loved it a lot. But I saved up $1,000, and I decided to move out to Washington State. And there's actually a lot more to the story, but I'll kind of cut it off there. I mean, that basically, though, what I was saying is that what started me wanting to travel, I think, is from a younger age, but also too, when I started touring with the bands, it was just, even before that, I remember getting a driver's license, and I lived in a town called Tulsa, which, it's up by Kansas. It's a kind of a dot on the map, but I remember getting a driver's license, and then my uncle gave me a car, or I bought it for a little bit of money or something, and I remember the big thing was to drive to Bartlesville and go see shows.
Yeah, man, it was at the warehouse, dude?
Yeah, and that was just, it was, I have just very distinct memories of just like, I don't know, it was just like, I have never been on this highway, like Highway 75 before, or whatever, and just thinking like, man, this is what it must be like for these bands to be out on the road, just taking this road that's out in the middle of nowhere.
The story on that is, I just remembered going to see Showbread and Blindside a long time ago, and then all of a sudden you were just on stage with them taking video of them. I was like, oh, there's Gabe, and there's stories like that.
I don't really remember that, but I believe you.
It happened. There's Gabe. Continue on.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
touring with bands that seems awesome. I mean,
it was definitely awesome. At the time, I was touring with a band that I thought was amazing. I don't really listen to them so much anymore, or really have the same. Personally, I don't really have the same taste of music anymore. But
who is it? Say it.
They're called Pillar.
Oh man, I love those dudes. People will know them here.
I know, that's why I don't want to say it. No, that was I don't know.
I have an awkward story with them too. I was playing at Marquee.
Yeah, but what if they listen to this?
They might, and they'll know that you love them. You loved those times. But Noah was backstage behind the marquee, and I was loading in. I was like, "Hey, and I was like trying to be funny a little bit. I was like, "Hey, weren't you in a band from Tulsa?" Like joking, like, cause he knew that I knew he was in Pillar, and he was like, "Oh, we're still a band, but I mean, I guess we're not really doing much anymore." And I was like so awkward because I thought they were done 15 years ago, and it felt weird. But they actually, I think they just finished a new album, which is awesome for them. They got huge, and I was always really excited to see that.
Totally.
But moving on from Pillar.
No, I don't know. I feel bad saying that, but I mean, it's just, I think overall, just kind of things progress, and I don't know. I can't. I was just out of high school, and I thought that was the most amazing band, and Anyway, I toured with them though. I got the opportunity, and it was like, they're going to play a show in Arkansas.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's like
yeah.
very
They're like,
beginning
well, you
stuff.
want to sell T-shirts? Like, we can't really pay you anything, but it's like, yeah.
Still,
I mean, I just remember just like, so I never went to school or anything. I never had plans to go to school, but it was pretty quick. Like, probably a couple weeks after I graduated, barely graduated. Just, you know what? That's a funny thing. Looking back at that time, like, I love to learn now. Like, I'll learn anything. Like, it's kind of the thing that I just love the most is I want to just learn about science or the world or different countries or cultures or psychology, or I mean, want to know about poetry and music around the world and all kinds of. I want to learn about everything. I would even love to know, like, to be like a genius with math or something. I don't think I'll ever get there. My brain just doesn't work that way. Yeah. But it's funny, at the time, I was just goofing off because I didn't feel very accepted or something at the school that I grew up in. And so I was just like, well, I'm just going to be this crazy guy and get attention. And I don't know. I just barely.
There's some things that
graduated.
I feel were even discouraged from learning.
Yeah.
Where I grew up, I was like, man, I really needed to know that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, or I'm really interested in it now. Like, one of them being evolution. Like, I wish I would have known something about that. Now I'm just, but now I get the opportunity to be amazed every time I learn something. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, now that I'm interested in learning stuff.
And that's actually something too that somebody can have an open mind about. And it doesn't, even if they don't want to believe it, it's not going to make them a bad person at all. It actually makes them a better person to use their brain more than they were before. And anyway, I don't want to sound like a jerk to what some people think, but I don't know. I feel like it's a good thing to actually.
I'm pretty sure your intention is going to come across as a nice person, not meaning to offend anybody.
Oh man, I hope so.
But then the road, that's where it started. Was
yeah.
With the Tulsa band.
I toured. Let's see, I toured with Pillar for maybe a couple years, and I actually kind of got laid off. Which I thought that was dumb. But anyway, then I had met some other bands out on the road and other bands from Tulsa, and I sent the band. They were called Fillmore, which
I remember those dudes.
Yeah,
I still get some of their songs stuck in my head just randomly.
Those guys are awesome.
Yeah,
I still love them. Like, they're just
I played
great people.
With like the drummer's new band, which I forgot the name, but I remember being like, I know you, dude.
I don't know. I don't know what band.
I'll think of it as soon as the microphone's off. I know it's not important, but yeah.
Yeah, I remember sending them an email. There was this funny show that they played a music festival in Minnesota or Wisconsin or something, and I ran up on stage during their set and started singing, and then jumped off, and then just kind of ran away. And then it was in Wisconsin at some music festival. Then the next day there was a music festival in Minnesota, which is the neighboring state. So we went to the next festival the next day, and I remember they were playing the same day. So I was like, well, cool, I'll go watch them again. And I went, and then after that, I went up to him, talked to him, and like, dude, like, you're that guy from yesterday. You just jumped on our stage. Like, normally we kick people off. We do that. But for some reason, we had this feeling to let you just stay up there and do it. I had this long hair and wearing this trucker hat or something. And that was the first time maybe not the first time I met him, but that was the first interaction. But then later I sent him an email. Like, hey, I know you don't know me, but if you guys want somebody to sell T-shirts for you, like, I don't really need any money. I enjoy doing it, and I like your music and everything. So they're like, well, good. Yeah, we can't really pay you much because we don't get paid either, but you can come with. So they had this cool truck. It was this huge box truck, sort of like a small semi, and it was converted into an RV, and had these bunk beds, like a huge, like a living room size, like wraparound couch that would be like on 4 walls or 3 walls or something.
Yeah.
And they had this on this massive platform just in the top of this truck, and I remember just sitting up there and watching the semis drive by, and we'd be in the back of this truck with a little tiny window with their heads sticking out. It's kind of fun.
Awesome.
Anyway, I don't know. I there's a lot of bands. I toured with, another one was Morning September. They lived in Tulsa too. So these are all sort of when it was before I ever made a living out of the music world or whatever industry. I didn't really make any money, but it was a lot of fun, and I felt like I was had a great opportunity to experience
the road. And just fun.
Yeah, just something that a lot of people don't have the chance to do. So I was just going with it all the time. At the same time, I didn't always know what my parents thought. I thought like, well, maybe I'm, I was actually still living at home for a while. I eventually moved out, of course, but I don't know. I stayed there for a long time and come home, and I never worked a job until I got that job at Fine Airport Parking. But
moving on up, but it ended up being a job eventually.
Yeah,
that's cool. Like now, sometimes you drive.
Yeah. Now, well, that goes back to the story. Oh man, this talking, man. This is tiring.
Too many questions. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. Basically, it goes back to when I was moving out. So, like I said, I kind of lost. I didn't have a lot of tours going on. The bands I was touring with, it just, nothing was happening. So I got that job. I got my hair cut, and I worked there for maybe just a year or something like that, from what I can remember. And living in Tulsa with some really good dudes. It was the first time I ever lived alone. I mean, lived outside of my parents' house. And it was a lot of fun. But I remember being like, well, I'm not traveling with any bands, and I'm living here, but I still had those memories of being a little kid in the Northwest. So I decided to save up some money, and I had this old Datsun station wagon, which was one of the coolest cars I've ever had.
I believe so.
It was amazing. This little, I don't even know what year it was, but it was like in pristine condition. I bought it for cheap from this guy in North Tulsa. I don't know why he gave me such a good deal, because it was like in perfect condition. I love that car, but basically I had that, and I saved $1,000, put in my notice at work, and then
peaced out.
Yeah, I packed up my stuff, and I just remember just having the most amazing feeling. It had nothing to do with leaving. It was just sort of this feeling of like, wow, I am totally free. I'm by myself, and I can go and do what I want. Anything. It doesn't matter.
Whatever.
And I was just like the first total feeling of complete freedom. There was nobody else with me, and I didn't live anywhere at that point. It was like, well, I moved out. I just have my car.
Yeah.
And I started driving for Oregon, for Washington. I'm sorry. I was going to live in Seattle. And I ended up breaking down a car. It was an older car, so the temperature gauge didn't work properly. And it was in the summer in Utah. It was like Provo, which is north of Salt Lake. There's a lot, anyway, I'm wrong. It was southeast of Salt Lake. It was before I got there, but there's a lot of huge mountains, beautiful mountains around there. And it was hot in the summer. And so I was driving, and before I know it, I'm going up this hill, and it's like, oh man, the car is not running very well. What's going on? And then it started going really slow to where it was hardly going anywhere at all. So, of course, I'm on a freeway, so I pulled off. And then when the car stops, then that's when you see all the typical steam up around the hood, and it's like, oh no.
I'm imagining you heard music playing, and that's the town you ended up in. The car broke down and just stayed there.
It sort of did, but things took a crazy, extremely random turn. So I don't remember what town exactly. It was somewhere north of Salt Lake that I was at. I got the car towed there with some money that I had. Got it towed to a shop, and they looked it over, and they said, well, buddy, unfortunately, your engine's done. I mean, you've run it hot as long as you could go. It's all seized up. Like, basically, it's just the end of an engine, unless they go in there and rebuild it. So
Yeah, that's probably more than you paid for the car to rebuild
Yeah,
it.
exactly. And so I had $1,000, which, of course, that was the most money I've ever had. It's still a good amount of money, So I had that, but it's like still, there's
Not
no
enough
way
to
I can
fix
do
the
it. Like,
car.
what am I gonna? I can't
Yeah.
do it. And I had my car was full of stuff, so it's like, well, what am I gonna do? Like, sell everything and hitchhike? No. Anyway, I didn't really know what to do, but at the time, I just remember just being like, well,
Looks
I'm
like I
here for
live
the
here now.
moment. I'm here for the moment. So I kept it parked in their parking lot. Well, they had already made an assessment. I talked to people, talked to my parents and a bunch of different people, and there's like, I couldn't really find anybody to send me money or anything,
Yeah.
It's like, I don't really know what to do. So I remember I have an uncle who also works for bands, and he called me and asked me if I wanted to go on a tour with a band and drive it like a box truck, like a moving truck.
Yeah.
It was just random timing, and he told me how much money I'd make, and it was like a shock to me because I'd never worked for a band
And made
like,
money.
well, I'd never
Like-
worked for a band that was sort of like, yeah, a
That's-
band. I've
that
never
also
worked for a
happens to
band
be
who, yeah,
Making money.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing that was funny is that I'd never driven anything bigger than a car, and he's just like,
You can do it.
yeah. Anyway, he was just like, well, just do it. Like, it's no problem. Like,
That's awesome.
yeah,
What timing?
he's like, just don't doubt yourself, and don't tell anybody that
That
you're
you don't
not
know
an
what you are
expert.
doing.
And I remember they bought me a plane ticket, and I flew out to New Jersey. And the first show was in Manhattan and New York, and I was nervous. It's like I flew out there and got in this to me at the time was a huge truck in one of the craziest cities to drive in the U.S. And it worked out though. I went on tour with them for about 2 months, and everything. It was an amazing tour. I met so many cool bands, and
Yeah.
I don't really want to say who it was, but
Let's just say A-list bands, like bands that are actually
yeah,
that are hiring. Like,
yeah, and it was
Like-
these bands that like I thought were so cool.
yeah,
I don't know, man. I really experienced something new. I had toured with bands before, but it was certainly not on that level.
this is another thing that took me meeting somebody that is super famous to learn that they're generally just people too, first of all, and still just as excited about their job as like probably as the Tulsa bands you're touring with. They're
Yeah.
just starting, like they're just as excited to be playing, at least some of them or most of them.
Totally.
Do you find that to be true too? Just like,
Yeah, I think so.
Just-
you.
I expected some kind of weird ego.
Well,
But, which I'm sure happens. But
Yeah, there is with certain people, but at the same time, it just varies from person to person.
yeah,
But also too, a lot of people do love their jobs, but a lot of people, it's just like anything else. You get tired, you get worn out.
yeah,
I've only been driving the buses for a few years, and I've already taken a decent chunk of time off just because it gets tiring. It's like,
Yeah, I'm sure.
I travel all the time, and I don't have a lot of time to just have a normal life. So I kind of quit this year, and just try not to do it so consistently.
Yeah.
So, there's certainly been times that I just been like, I hate this. I want to go home right now. But most of the time I enjoy it quite a bit. I love to keep moving.
yeah,
But at the same time also, I've traveled along with a lot of other people who do the same job, but traveled all over the U.S. and Canada numerous times, been to all the cities, been on all the roads.
Do you have time to check out the cities?
Yeah,
sometimes?
typically, but well, actually, I say typically. Typically, it just depends on the tour. If you're on some big tour where you're playing in arenas and stuff, you'll probably be there for a couple days at least. But if you're doing on a club tour, a lot of times the bands have only so much budget to where they have to play every night. So it's like a drive and then sleep and drive and sleep, and there's not a lot of time. Plus, there's a lot of things just to do with the bus to keep it maintained, to keep it clean, and And there's a lot to do with it.
Yeah,
so.
but still a pretty cool job as long as you don't get sick of it and hate it.
No,
But,
it is. I actually love it a lot. I just don't want to do it
so much that you hate
every
it.
day. Yeah. And we'll put also too though. The thing that's funny is that a lot of people who I work with will kind of be like, "Man, it's kind of stupid." But for me, I have a desire to do other things other than just be on the road with bands. I love music, but I have this huge desire to actually learn about the world and other countries and cultures. And I want to go places that are outside of the box, which I haven't. I mean, I know a lot of people who have been a lot of crazier places than I've been, but at the same time, it's like that's not what, to me, what's important is like, I don't know. I actually want to do something in the world to, I don't know, just I have a little bit of that hippie in me myself. I don't know if there's any true hippies left.
Oh, they're there.
Yeah, but yeah, well, maybe out on the West Coast. But
I met a few.
For me, I don't know.
What's the first time that took you out of the country on your own, or just
on my own? Well, basically, it was another time I was already driving the buses and stuff, and I had some time off in the winter. It's kind of slows down. There's not so many bands touring and everything. And at the time, I wasn't living anywhere. I remember I moved away from Oregon for a small period. Don't quite remember why, but I remember packing up a car and driving back to Oklahoma. This wasn't recently. This was probably, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago, something like that. And it's really weird. You would think I would remember why I moved away, but I don't. So anyway, I remember just being like, well, I'm going to go back to Oklahoma. I drove back, and it was winter. It was cold. It was snowy. It was awesome, but I was back at my parents' house, and I didn't really know what I was doing. And then it was just kind of like, I don't know. I just had this weird moment, like, I don't really know what to do next. I mean, I don't know. But basically, I knew this guy from Oregon named Nate, and he is a hippie. He is, but he's oh man, it's just the most genuine person that I know a lot of genuine people, but he was a very genuine person that met up there, just like so kind to everybody and so just not afraid to try new things and not afraid to travel. And I mean, he'd just been to so many crazy places, and I just considered it, like, for me at the time, it was just like that, like, how is that even possible? And like, how do you, like, I didn't know the ways to figure out where to go and where to stay and what to do and how to act. But I remember, like, I had always admired him for, like, going to these, he like spent some time in the Middle East and all over Europe, everywhere, and India. He's spent a lot of time in India and just different places, and it's like, that's really cool. And I always thought he was a cool guy. But I remember I was in Oklahoma, and for some reason I got this thought, like, I'm gonna go and try something different. I'm gonna go to Europe or something. And so I called him. I was kind of bummed because I'd moved back from Oregon, but then I just didn't really know what I was doing. And so, like, man, I'm in Oklahoma, and that, I'm not saying that had nothing to do with Oklahoma being a bad place. It was just kind of my mindset. I didn't know what was next, and I was kind of bummed out.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, like, you should go. Like, don't even worry, man. If you have some money to just get a cheap plane ticket over to Amsterdam, just go, man. He's like, dude, there's this hostel over there, and you can work there, and they'll let you stay for free. It's not a problem. You can, like, volunteer for a month. You just work a couple hours a day and change some bed sheets and stuff, and you get meals and stuff. And then I started thinking, like, wow, okay, maybe it's possible, you know? I could do that. Like, I could go for a whole month if I don't have to pay anything to be there.
Yeah, for sure.
And I remember him being like, man, don't be worried about it. Just go and try it, you know? And I remember doing that for the first time, and it was amazing. It was just, I would love to get up the second and go do it again, actually. Like, right now.
Like, just
I would be like,
out.
Well, let's end the podcast now.
Let's go. I've looked into that a little bit, and, like, there's work I think called WorkX, or just different kinds of programs where I think they've been around for a while. You can just sign up on the internet, and then you can plan trips where you go help people, and it's free, because I think there's something with some countries' work visas, you can't actually make money, which is some of the reason of it. But like you just help them out, and then you get to experience their town for days.
That's
and
awesome.
I mean, I was like, I'm going right now.
Yeah,
I
definitely believe that. I've never heard of it, but I'm sure
it's that kind of program, but they've just made a network out of it, so you can basically travel the world for free. I mean, for labor.
Well, you got to pay for your plane tickets.
Yeah.
That's the most expensive part. Once you get there, it's no big deal.
But essentially free. I mean, when you consider how much time you're spending there, and
of course
how much rent would be and everything. And I was like, let's do it. But then I read some horror stories, and I was like,
no. See, man,
I backed out.
See, that's
where you got to worry, man.
Hey, look, no, but seriously, it takes some time. It takes some time. And I'm not telling anybody that they have to go do this kind of stuff, but I'm just speaking for myself. Like, and I'm not trying to change anybody to go do something that they're not supposed to do. But for me, like, I can't get enough of it. Like, and I know I'm not the only one. There's a certain breed of people who just can't
stay
enough
in one spot.
of,
Yeah.
I mean, mostly to me is just learning and experiences, and also too, I love the stories that prove that you can travel to certain countries and not get murdered or mugged or jumped or whatever. You know, I mean, that's a whole different thing. You can be cautious, but I just love it when it's like, see, they're not bad people.
Yeah.
I've met many more good and kind and friendly people in the world than I have bad. I think that everybody has a bit of both, but I don't know. That's that's even again another discussion.
What took you to South America the first time? I read that that's your love right now.
Yeah, man. I love anything that's Spanish speaking. Anything south of our border, I'm very interested in. I don't know. I was nervous to travel to South America for the first time, just because I don't know.
You hear the worst.
Well, yeah.
You see the worst on our TVs, and
it's just a different world, and it's not a bad world. It's just different than it's just different. You just have to learn about how things work. So I was kind of nervous, but it sounds really, 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 really strange. But I don't care about this. This is really cool. But there was a band I was on tour with in 2006, the same year before I moved to Oregon. And after that tour, I got an email from somebody in Chile. It's like, hi, I know that you tour with this band. Like, I'm a big fan. I'm friends of the band and everything. And we became pen pals, which sounds really crazy.
No, that sounds awesome.
It ended up that we were pen pals for about 6 years on the internet. See, that's the part sounds. Most people are like, oh, that's weird. Like, what do you?
No,
but it was pretty cool.
That's what's awesome about the internet.
Yeah, and we just actually communicated. Not every day or anything, but over time, we'd talk back and forth. And then sometimes I'd be like, man, I would love to come. I would see pictures, of these other bands that go on tour in Chile and stuff. And it's like, that's cool. It looks amazing. Like, I would love to know what that's all about. And so it took me quite some time, but it was 2012. So a couple years ago, I think, that I bought a plane ticket and flew down there. And made my way to a hostel in Santiago, in the capital, and stayed there for a while. And then I met this pen pal that I had.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, but her name was Gabriela. My name's Gabrielle, technically.
Yeah.
Gabriel and Gabriela.
It's magic.
Nah, I mean, it's nothing. I mean, she's literally just my friend, but it was really cool. I mean,
still magic.
Yeah, she lived in a town further south of Santiago, and I met her. She was working in the city, and she got off work, and we took a bus to her hometown, which is like 2 hours away, and her family let me stay there for, I don't know, a long time. And just, I don't know, that was like the first, not the first, but it was definitely like some hospitality. And it's like, these are, I don't know, it was just, there was nothing to be afraid about. I mean, I understand, of course, you could be afraid about that situation, but I decided not to be, and it was awesome. And the experience has only become more after that. It's like, well, I want to do this more.
What's your goal? If you could do something, like, what's your, not necessarily a goal, but
Yeah.
maybe a dream? What would you like to have happen?
That's a really big question.
Yeah.
I don't really know exactly. I mean,
here's an easier question to answer. What happened to the car you left in Oregon before you got your first job touring with the band?
No, I left it in. Okay, so okay, yeah.
I haven't stopped. I was like, wait, did you get your car back? Your Datsun is.
Yeah. I don't know. It's funny. I'm just talking and it's going other places. But in Utah, I went on tour with that band. I told them I had a credit card, and I had that little bit of cash. So I was like, well, just go ahead and rebuild the engine. I'm going to go on tour with this band and make some money and everything. I'm going to pay with it on my credit card. And there happened to be a storage unit across the street from the shop. So I went over there and I paid them enough for the 2 months I was going to be gone for the storage unit. I went and bought a lock. I took it over to the shop people, and I said, when you guys are done with it, take it to the storage unit and park it, lock it up. I'll be back in like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
I'll come and get it. And so I did that tour. It was amazing experience. Then that $1,000 I had more than that, which was like, wow, I can't even, it was crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
no, like seriously, like more than I could even need. And I mean, it wasn't a ton, but it was a lot. Like, it was crazy. It was just like, I just couldn't figure it out. It's like, well, how did that happen? And so anyway, I remember I flew back after the tour back to Oklahoma. Then I met another guy here, which I've lost touch with, but I want to find him again. His name was Darren. Awesome guy. I guess I had this job for a little while at this skate park in East Tulsa. It was like an indoor skate park. I can't remember what it was called, but I worked there with this guy named Darren. He had dreadlocks. It was a really cool. He was kind of a hippie guy. I mean, somewhat. And he grew up, I think, here. But anyway, I was like, I hooked back up with him, and I was like, "Do you want to move to Seattle?" He's like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so he packed up his vehicle, and then we drove in his vehicle to Utah and picked up my car, went to Seattle, and then it's like, well, we're in this amazing place. Seattle still to this day is my favorite place in the world. It's just, I love it. I think it's more romantic because of me as a kid living there, you know, but I just love it. The water and the mountains and the trees and just a lot of different things going on, a lot of different kinds of people, a lot of diversity. So I've always loved that city, but it was just amazing being there. I remember it was raining, which is typical, and we were downtown Seattle in a parking lot, and we didn't know where to go, so we slept in our cars for a few nights, and we found a place to move in, but it was going to take some time to move in. So eventually we stayed in this cheap motel, and anyway, his car ended up, after like the second night there, it ended up getting broken into, and they stole everything that he had out of his car, which was like basically everything he had, a guitar and I mean all his clothes and basically anything he owned, and a broken window. So it's like, well, plus he didn't have any money, so instantly he felt bad, but he's like, sorry man, I gotta go. I
gotta go back home. Yeah.
Basically his dream got crushed right then. And
is that when you lost contact with him?
Yeah, that was it.
Darren, I hope you're doing well, man.
Yeah, I've actually recently heard, I don't have contact with him, but I saw a picture of him on Facebook, and he's in Denver, Colorado, or somewhere around there. I've
Yeah.
tried to get in contact with him, but he hasn't called me yet. I gave a phone number to but yeah, he was an awesome guy. But yeah, he moved back to Oklahoma, and that was then I didn't know what to do because I couldn't afford that place by myself. And then I started feeling kind of hopeless. It's like, well, I don't know anybody here, and I'm here all alone. And I started feeling stupid, like this is the dumbest idea. I didn't know what to do, so I was like, well, I stayed out there for another day or something. I was like, well, maybe I'll drive back to Oklahoma too. And I started driving down to Oregon and then further east to Portland. Just so beautiful, like the amazing scenery and everything. And I called my buddy, Kale, and I was talking to him, and he was like, dude, if you're going to come back to Oklahoma, I want to let you know that you're not like, it's not like a failure at all. Like, you've done some amazing stuff just doing this, you know? He's like, but secondly, I want to encourage you to turn around and go back to Portland, go back there and just stay for a week or something. Just go and figure it out, you know? Like, you can sleep in your car, or you can camp, or you can, you know, stay in a hotel or something. Just do something. Just go. He's like, it was fall time. It was just like September. And he was saying, like, go see the changing of the leaves or whatever. You know, it's like a different place. It's different scenery. Like, you haven't spent any time there. You should go and just, even if you're just there for now, just go and experience it and just kind of see what happens. And so I turned around. I was already like 150 miles outside of Portland. Turn around, start driving back. I was like, all right, that's a good idea. I'm gonna try it out.
Check it out.
Yeah, and I remember parking again up north of Portland. It's right on the border with Washington. So I parked in Vancouver, Washington, which is just a suburb of Portland, in this like chiropractic parking lot. And I was like, well, guess I'll sleep here.
Yeah.
And eventually it's funny. I guess Craigslist wasn't a huge deal before. This was like 8 years ago now. So at that time, it wasn't really very well known. It was becoming popular there. So somebody told me, well, look on Craigslist. So I went and found like a shared room. Like, it was a room for rent in a big house with a bunch of different rooms. And it was like maybe $350 or something. Which that was actually kind of expensive. It was like, wow, I wasn't used to it. And, but it's not expensive now. At the time, it was pretty expensive for me. Maybe it was $400 or something. But I was like, well, I have this bit of money, so it can work. Like, just make a little budget. And I remember going there and being like, oh, but then also at that point, you're asking what happened to the car. My car died again once I moved in. I moved in, and then like the next day, I was driving it down the road, and it was totally done. So I sold it to like a scrap thing, or I sold it to somebody who towed it away. They probably just put another engine in it and made money off of it.
I mean, that sucks that your engine you just paid for. That should be good for several 100,000 miles.
It was rebuilt though, so
yeah, but still, that's I was like, I
just remember that I was bummed, but I was like, man, my car, it's beautiful. And I sold it for maybe like $100.
I just had to do that too when I moved. I had to get rid of my high school car. It wasn't even very good, but I had it. I don't know if you recall a '81 Toyota Celica, a little bit.
Yeah, I do. I
had it until like I don't even know why I kept it for so long, but I just loved it. And then when I moved here, I couldn't have two cars, and I was like, well,
that's awesome.
I could really use this $250 to move with. So
totally,
but did the same thing.
Yeah,
except for I was still in Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's crazy. Anyway, dude. I'm talking too much here.
No, that's the point. That's the goal.
I know, but
so it's just really cool. I've never had this conversation with you. I was like, man, how did you just end up like? You're just like, I'm out of here, and all of a sudden you're touring with these bands. And I think I ran into you in Dallas. Dallas, and your uncle maybe. At least I think I saw you and your uncle in Dallas. On one of those tours. Maybe it was the first tour. That'd be crazy. It was the first tour. I think you were driving a box truck, and he tried to sneak me backstage, but my friends tried to follow me, and like we were walking, and then like four friends tried to sneak in too, and then that's when they stopped us. So I blame those four friends for ruining me hanging out with all those bands.
Do you mind saying what band that was?
That show was Taking Back Sunday and My Chemical Romance that I'm talking about.
Oh, yes. I was selling. Okay, that was a different one.
Oh, that'd have been cool if it was the first one.
No.
Still cool.
I was driving, That might have been after. Honestly, it's funny they all played together, but
I don't know
that
who
was
you're working with,
one.
but-
It was called they did it for a few years. It was like Project Revolution or something.
Yes.
It was like a Linkin Park put on.
Oh
like,
yeah, I forgot
it
Linkin
was like,
Park.
yeah, they were like, oh, I mean, they did it a few years and they'd tour around and it had like, I don't know, 10 bands or something.
So like your uncle was like,
But I
yeah,
was-
man, we're all just hanging out backstage. Come on back. Like, come chill. Come meet the guys from Taking Back Sunday and My Chemical
Wow.
Romance. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah.
But it ended up not happening, which is probably better for him. I would hate to get him in trouble for something like that.
Yeah.
Why are you bringing this weird kid back here? He's just drooling on everybody.
That's awesome. Yeah, okay. So I was on that one. I wasn't even selling merchandise, but I was driving a box truck with the merchandise in it for different bands. So
I think I remember seeing both of you guys there.
yeah. Man, that would. So if it was in Dallas, it was at the fairgrounds. There's like the Smirnoff Amphitheater.
Smirnoff Amphitheater.
They
Yep.
changed the name of all those places.
That show was awesome. My friend Kelsey just texted me. I was like, "Hey, I have an extra ticket. You want to go to this show?" I was like, "Sure." Where? She's like, "Just
Cool.
meet me here in 45 minutes." So
That's awesome.
I was in Owasso and like on my way somewhere. She's like, "Drop what you're doing and go with us to Dallas." And I was like, "Done. Let's go." And
that's the kind of trip that's like, yeah, look at that. Like,
That's
man,
the-
to go to Dallas, that's a long drive, you know?
that's the kind of stuff that lands you in Peru.
Yeah, believe it or not, it might take a while, but it just depends on your interests. I have the interest for that.
That's real cool. I'm glad you're here telling me this story. It's just a cool thing that you wouldn't really hear that side of it.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. So like I said, I went to South America. I went to Chile, and then I don't know how much later it was. It wasn't much, but it was maybe maybe it was like 6 to 8 months later. I came back after I went to Chile, and then I came back, and then I went back on tour with some bands for, I don't know, maybe 6 months or something. And then I was like, man, I want to go back to South America again. So I went again, and I actually went to Peru that time and saw a friend who I know who lived there. He's an awesome guy. His family also, I used to know him. He used to live in Oregon. He's just an amazing person. I used to work with him there in this warehouse. And he's Peruvian, and he was living there, and he just said, come down and stay with my family.
With it.
Yeah.
Check it out. That's cool.
And it was just, dude, these stories are too long, but that was a good story. But they were so
We've got
welcoming. Everybody
literally unlimited amounts of time.
so many people I know are just like friendly and good people. I'm not saying to just meet a stranger on the street and be like, hey,
I'm coming with you. I'm staying with you.
Of course. But it has to do with, I don't know, if you just kind of follow what you feel or your trust or something, you know. These people I stayed with, I considered my friends though over a long period of time, you know. But at the same time, I've also stayed with people who I'd never met before, which that may be crazy to some people, but that's possible through couch surfing.
Yeah. I think you told me about that.
Yeah.
Like, dude, just hit up couch surfing. And I was like,
Yeah, it sounds,
dude, no.
It sounds weird, but
I like to believe I like to believe that the vast majority of people are good people, and we just, like, we only hear about the worst of everything you hear about.
yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
I think
even
no, it does make sense.
In every, like, in every category of life, you're not going to really hear, because the people who are just going on being good people aren't really newsworthy. They're not really something that people talk about.
That's true.
So
That's true. But the example I was here, which I think is it works out pretty well. I mean, people always sort of have this example, but it's like there's dangerous places everywhere. It's dangerous things. I mean, there's probably people who get shot every night here in Tulsa.
yeah, pretty close to where we are now.
I'm sure it is. Like every single, I'm sure there's not a day that goes by that somebody at least doesn't get shot at, you know?
Yeah.
But also at the same time, thankfully, I know a lot of people have, but thankfully I have never seen anybody be shot at. Even though it happens technically all around me every day, I've never seen it happen. And the reason why I think I haven't seen that happen is just because, well, I mean, there's different reasons, but maybe if I were involved with something that
That
I would be
people
shot at, then I
shut
would be
up for
shot
doing,
at.
yeah.
But if I'm not in
not
some
involved.
kind
I get
of
it. I see what you mean.
yeah, I mean, yeah,
And
it's
especially if you have somebody to show you where to be and
Yeah.
what to be involved with.
I agree, man. And there's definitely ways to learn that. You know,
Like, if somebody was moving to Tulsa, there might be places I'm like, yeah, you might stay away from there a little bit.
yeah.
Until you learn how it works. I
And then
guess.
this is the part of me that's kind of weird and it's not accurate, but sometimes I like to think like you can still live anywhere. And I know from experience though, it's not always going to happen exactly how you want it, but I like to think first of all, I don't even believe in karma really. I mean, makes sense, but I don't necessarily like,
yeah.
you know, I mean, there's a lot of good things that happen to some people and not a lot of bad things happen to them. So it's like, well, where's the karma? But at the same time, I kind of want to have the same belief about like, man, I'm a nice person. I don't want any enemies. I'm not going to rob anybody. I'm not going to, I'm not trying to fight anybody. I'm not trying to argue. I'm not trying to beat anybody up. I'm a nice person. Like I care about people. I want to know them. So I feel like with that, sometimes you can take people by surprise and be in a place where it's like, maybe it seems like you would be definitely a minority or something, which can be exciting. But anyway, you might not have problems if you're a nice person. I know it's not totally true because I did get robbed because I had that kind of mentality. I was like, yeah, nothing's going to happen. I'm a nice person. Somebody tries to rob me, I'll just be like, dude, no, hey, I'm your friend. Stop. But it didn't work. Still got robbed. But anyway.
But that was only once.
Just once, yeah.
Well, I don't know.
I know it was attempted more than once, but once there was only one time that they were successful.
That's scary. That sounds scary. But it's not the.
You know what? At the moment, it was so quick, and the whole ordeal probably took about maybe 15 to 20 seconds. And at the moment, I wasn't so scared because I couldn't think quick enough. It was just like, I don't know what's going on. Thankfully, they didn't punch me. They didn't have. The crazy thing is that they didn't show me any kind of gun or knife or anything. It was just two guys unexpectedly, and definitely got me by surprise. And I had this big backpack, so I couldn't really run very well or anything. And I just couldn't believe it was happening. So it was so quick. But at the same time, I don't really remember being very afraid. It was just like, I can't believe I'm about to get everything taken from me, my passport and everything. Like, what am I going to do? It was all just very quick. That's what people always say about things like that. Like, it was so quick. But looking back at it, I actually learned from it. And it's funny because that happened the first time I went. Then, like I said, I went back to the same city in cities that were crazier than that, like within six months or something.
Overall, an enjoyable time, though. That wasn't like
totally.
It wasn't like that.
I want to go back.
It's
all
not like
the time.
that was the description of the city you have. Just that happened.
Yeah.
Oops. But
dude, there's this guy that you're gonna. Well, who knows when it's gonna be because this guy is very unpredictable. But someday, I hope this guy comes through Oklahoma, and you gotta have him on your podcast because if you
who is it?
Well, if you think that like. That my stories are like, wow, like, I don't know how many countries I've been to. It's a good handful, but there's a lot of people who are
where you feel the same way, like, whoa, that guy's doing this.
No, but seriously, so basically, okay, so this last time I was in South America, I made my way down to Patagonia, which is the southern part of South America. It's like basically as far south as you can go other than Antarctica. So if you look at South Africa, it's further north than South America. If you look at Australia and New Zealand, those are all further north. The bottom of South America is way down there. So it's like very, very, very far south. And it was amazing being down there. But I went down there on two separate occasions on both trips. But the second time I went, I met this guy at this hostel. Somebody told me about this hostel, and it was basically like this guy, he had a house with, I don't know, maybe 3 bedrooms or something, and he put all these. I mean, for that city particularly, it was like a really pretty decent house. I mean, it was just a regular house, but it had a lot of space. So he turned it into a hostel and stuff. But he said that he didn't like to clean very much, and he didn't like to like change bed sheets and stuff. So he preferred that the people who stayed there would stay for like an extended, like at least a month or something. And so I said, yeah, that's great. And it was only like maybe $100 or $150 or something for a month, which was awesome. It's like, wow, I could stay here for a long time, no problem. And so I remember checking in there, and I met this guy. He's from the United States, and I started talking to him over time, and he basically at this point, it was probably about 11 years ago, but he was living in Oregon. He was 28 years old, which was at the time when I met him the same age. This was like earlier this past year. And he started walking from Portland, Oregon, down the Pacific Crest Trail, which goes all the way down to California and then down to Baja and stuff. He started walking down that, and I mean, to make a very, very long story short, he walked a lot, and he was just trying to kind of find himself. Basically, after a long time, he ended up in Mexico, in this border town, and he stayed there for about a year. A family like took him in, and he moved in, and they let him stay there, and he learned how to, help out around the place. And he didn't know Spanish, but he learned Spanish as he was there over a year. And then at some point he decided, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go just keep walking further south.
Wow.
It's kind of like Forrest Gump or something.
Yeah.
But this guy he wasn't crazy at all. But the thing that's really, really wild that sounds like, what? That's not true. But so when he was going to walk further south from this town in Mexico, they gave him as a gift a donkey. They're like, this is for you. This is your companion. You can put your stuff on his back. He can walk with you, And so he started walking with this donkey, and basically, I mean, it is a very, very, there's so much stuff, like so many stories, I'm sure, that he's basically homeless, for like the last 10 or 11 years. But he got his donkey all the way to southern Brazil, and it got bit by a snake, and it died. So he buried his donkey there. And he just kept walking over some time. But like I said, it was over like 10 years or something, and he's just been living down there. He has come back to the States for some different reasons, but he always goes back to where he was before and continues on.
That's pretty awesome.
But I had met him down there at the bottom of South America, and he had just actually finished his walk. He walked as far south as he could, and he was just returning, which we were further north at that point. Anyway, I sent him an email last night. I hadn't talked to him in a while, and he said he's still down there. He bought a motorcycle somehow, and he's just been down there. I mean, it's probably been like a year ago since I saw him now. And I was actually considering buying a motorcycle and coming back with him, which I don't have any regrets, but it would have been really cool. I just didn't quite feel right about it at the time. But anyway, he's still down there. He's in Bolivia right now. And he said he's going to go to Paraguay and Uruguay and then back to see his donkey's grave in southern Brazil. Then he's going to start actually coming back. And he said he's going to try to come through Oklahoma.
I hope he does. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but this guy, so a person like that, sounds like that person is insane. He has like some mental issues. Not at all, man. I mean, I can't I can't say for sure, but I'm telling you, like
your professional diagnosis.
He's incredibly intelligent and incredibly just normal person, very healthy. Like he's 38 now, but he looks very young, and I mean, not that that's old, but anyway.
That's cool. That's a cool guy to meet for sure.
Yeah. No, but honestly, man, like it's good for me and it's bad for me to meet these kind of people though, because it's definitely good for me, but sometimes I don't necessarily do the things that I just get the urge to do because I feel like, well, what would certain people think about that, or people would be concerned or something. But anyway, it's always good for me to meet these people, but then sometimes it's bad because it's like, I don't know. It keeps my mind going even more about wanting to explore and learn. And it's like, I've done nothing compared to some other people, you know?
Yeah.
And I've also, too, always been a huge fan of traveling books. Like, I read a book about a guy who had also started at the bottom of South America, and he made his way all the way up through South America, Central America, Mexico, and then he went to the East Coast of the U.S., up into Canada. He ended up at the top of Alaska. And it was like and you're just walking the whole time.
That's crazy.
And I just read these kinds of things, and it's not that I want to walk everywhere. I'm not really looking to do that, but I can't let go of the adventuresome side of like wanting to just go against what's normal.
Yeah. I'm super glad you came to tell me some of these stories. That's
totally.
still awesome. And just cool to hear things like that. And it's cool that, I'm glad to have you in Tulsa. For sure.
Yeah.
Glad to see you again. I think it just ran. I don't know if I knew you were back, but I know I was outside of a show and then, like, you're just driving by in a Jeep, like, hey, what's up, Jason? And I was like, did you just check in Peru?
Yeah.
Weren't you just in Canada? But that's cool.
Man.
And it's cool you came and you're living in a building you always wanted to live in or look forward.
I'm up in that University Club tower.
That's pretty sweet.
The Needle.
That's a cool building.
Yeah, I'm happy to be there.
So I'd like to think you're at least doing something you want to do by checking that out.
Hey, look, I'm completely happy living here. I hope it doesn't sound like I don't want to be here because I'm always dreaming of these other things. I'm very happy being here. I just sometimes think like, what's the next
I think
trip going to be?
I think everybody feels that way in a certain way.
Yeah.
Just maybe with different things.
Yeah. But hey, look, I don't think any bad about being here forever. I love it. But sometimes I have to go out and adventure. Also, another part of it too has to be with, it's really important to me right now, especially. I mean, it's always been this way, but right now there seems to be a lot of people in disagreement about people from other places, especially living in the United States and immigration and things like that. And I get it. That is something that is personal to a lot of people, and I understand where people are coming from. At the same time, sometimes it hurts me because I feel like you can say that these things are not within the law, which is probably true a lot of times, but sometimes I am very kind of, I don't know what the word is, but like it kind of hurts a little bit whenever people don't consider others as just looking at through eyes of humanity.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes people feel no sorrow for people. So it seems, and they say, well, no, they don't belong here. It's not their country. And I don't know. It's just, for me, that's why sometimes I want to spend so much more time south of our border instead of anywhere else, because I want to do a little microscopic, tiny little, tiny thing to be like, to go against what is considered normal. It's like, well, you have blonde hair and blue eyes. Why would you go and spend a lot of your life in Mexico? Well, maybe I will, because maybe I like them and I like their culture and they're good people, you know?
Yeah.
And they're good friends, and I have so many friends, so many who are so incredibly kind and so just amazing people.
Give some of them shout outs. I know you mentioned them.
Well, no, I don't know. I mean, now I'm feeling shy, but there was this, in Chile, I met this girl whose name was Jimena, and cool girl. Like she's actually, she would probably be like, what? Why are you saying that? That's not important. But she's actually part Mapuche, which is the native people of Chile and Argentina. It's called Mapuche. So she's like it's just the same as being a native of, the United States. It's just from a different place. So I met her the first time I went down to the city of Punta I can't say it very well, but Punta Arenas, which is Sandy Point, and that's down in Patagonia. And I checked into this hostel, and I tried to speak Spanish, which I'm horrible at speaking Spanish, and I just remember trying to like talk in Spanish, and she's like, "Nah, I speak in English." And I was like, I was like, "That's fine, but I want to try." And then she's like, she would, from that point, she like wouldn't speak in Spanish anymore. And she had this like, she was like this hippie girl, like in this hippie hostel, like very cool place. I love it. It's incredible memories being there. Just absolutely beautiful. I can't get over it. Just thinking about it. I think about it like every day. It's like, man, I could live there. Not because it's the most amazing place in the world, but just because it's so simple. It's just a simple place and beautiful, and I don't know, it's cool. Yeah. But yeah, I met her, and we became very, very, very good friends, and I consider her and her family very, very good friends. I don't know.
That's cool. Well, what's her name?
Jimena with an X.
Well, hello.
Ximena. Jimena.
Hello from Tulsa.
Yeah, she's cool.
From a basement in Tulsa.
and we did some hitchhiking too. We took this, so there's a lot of water around where she lives, and then there's also islands and stuff like that. And then you can take a ferry from her city over to Tierra del Fuego, which is part Chile and part Argentina. And we went over there and hitchhiked. It had some good memories. And it was also too, it was winter there. Very, very, very cold because it's so far south. Freezing. I remember we couldn't get a ride for a while, and I thought she was going to freeze to death. But she didn't.
That's good to hear.
It was cool. No, she's my good friend down there. Also, Gabriela, like I said before, she's living in Argentina right now. But
well, if they happen to hear this, that's awesome. Hello from Tulsa. That's
yeah, really totally.
Cool. That's what I love about the internet. You're talking about your pen pal. It's just it's just so easy now, and it freaks me out on Twitter. That's when I like. If for some reason somebody from like another country sees something and like retweets it, that's just real. Like when I released my album, there are some people in other countries that favored it or retweeted or something like that. I'm like, wow, that's so insane that you have instant contact with all over the world.
And it's really cool. And you know what? If you ever went to one of those places, of course I can't guarantee anything, but like there's a good chance, I would say a huge chance, that those people are just normal, just like you. They live in a different place, very friendly. They would probably be very happy to meet you, and not in any weird way. And not that I'm not recommending that people do that, but I'm just saying people are people all over the world. I think most people are, you know.
If that was the tagline of the podcast, would that be what you intend to get across? People are people over the world if they're here or there.
Well, yeah. I don't know about. I'd have to think about a tagline, but yeah. But seriously, people are people all over the world.
Tell me about the song that you brought for me. I want to hear the whole.
Oh man, I don't know if it fits in.
Are you? Well, we can. I mean, it doesn't have to fit in. That's the point.
Well, this is just some track that my buddy, he goes by. Well, anyway, I won't go what he goes by, but his name's Jonathan. I know him from Oregon, and he just makes this. To some people, would be like this strange music, kind of electronic, kind of sound like you ate some mushrooms and listened to it or something. But, But he made this track with me and my friend Jimena, just having a conversation. It's kind of different, so maybe some people will be like, "What's this?" But I love it, man.
That's what's the conversation about? Is that important in the song, or is it have a special meaning to you because of? I mean, just because of where it came from.
No, it's mostly just it's mostly just to me is nice because I can hear. I have this little voice recorder that I carry around. Yeah. Sometimes I'll make little tiny interviews or something, but we were riding on this bus, me and my friend, and I just recorded this little conversation that we had for a while, kind of like right now. Yeah. But in a cheaper way with this cheap little recorder. And then my friend took some of it and made this weird track out of it, but I don't know. You can just put it however you want it. But
yeah, that's cool.
I
think that's a cool story. That's really.
Yeah.
I mean, what is a song if it's not a conversation anyway, right?
It's not. Yeah. Anyway.
It sounded really weird, like I'm trying to be smart, but
no,
I mean,
it's cool. It's cool.
I know from writing a song or two that it's always trying to get some kind of word out of, or like feeling out, and so
yeah,
I can appreciate how cool this is, and especially, I don't know. Thanks for coming, man.
You got it, man. I feel like I talk so much, but I appreciate.
That's what this is. It's just talking.
Yeah,
so it's fine.
That's cool. Well, thanks for having me, man. It's a good time.
I'm glad to have you back in Tulsa, and thanks for stopping.
You got it.
And
I'll see you again soon.
I'll see you soon. And do you have a name for this song we're about to play?
Mapuche.
Perfect. Thanks, man.
You got it.
Because for the white man, Earth it's like a way of earning money and just taking advantage of it. It doesn't have much respect. It doesn't have respect for it because it's our mother. So you came out. Can you say that? I think everything that is secret and like of certain people has to be something wrong with it, because if it's not everybody available, why not? I mean, you have to hide something. So it's not fair because they like guide you into this knowledge road or path. But why don't everybody can do that? I mean. It's bad because now they have all the power, and I think everything that is secret and like of certain people has to be something wrong with it, because if it's not everybody available, why not? I mean, you have to hide something. Because for the white man, Earth it's like a way of earning money and just taking advantage of it. It doesn't have much respect. It doesn't have respect for it because it's our mother. So you came out. Can you say that?